They discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
People don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Napoleon Hill Institute Training. I'll be joined by my co-host, the double B, Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. Today, we're going to teach one of his specialties, the Napoleon Hill Institute Training, Engineer the Flow of Abundance. Just want to have a few quick reminders before we bring Blaine on. Number 1, all the exercises and guides and my book are available for free. You just have to email me, david@dmeltzer.com, and you will get all the guides, exercises, and my book for free, david@dmeltzer.com. We just got back from the players, the professional athlete community late last night, back on track, and we're on our way to the Masters. If you'd like to join us for the Masters Mastermind, or our Thursday TPI event, we have John Daly, Vaughn Miller, I'm losing track of who else, but there's plenty of other people coming with us, and please join us there. Then off to Aspire in Phoenix. Come and join me and the Sharks, and Gary V will be closing. Come, and I'm happy to host you. So just email me. Then we'll do a content mastermind in Los Angeles. And then finally back to New York City, and Long Island. Come and join us for the car washes, interviews holding court, meetups, of course, speeches, and VIP dinners for the Unstoppable Foundation. That's right. We are the largest donor to the Unstoppable Foundation, thanks to our community. All right. If you'd like to be informed or invited to all of the 200 cities we're going to be in this year, join our text community, area code 949-298, next 3 numbers, 298. Final 4 numbers, 2905. That's 949-298-2905 to be informed and invited. All right, let's bring my friend up right away. His name is Blaine Bartlett, BlaineBartlett.com. He's a world business consultant. He moves possibilities into reality. Been living in ease, in the flow for multiple decades, and he is my mentor. Blaine Bartlett, welcome to our Napoleon Hill Institute training.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, as always.
We are blessed to be friends and to be able to pour into our community. Let's get started. We don't need to chase. We don't need to chase. We don't need to pursue happiness. Happiness is the pursuit when you understand the infinite, which is the abundant. The infinite means more than enough of everything for everyone, more than enough energy, intelligence, intuition, inspiration, energy, all of these things. We need to, instead of chase, we need to engineer. We need to engineer the flow, because when we operate at ease, elevating our awareness to what puts us mentally, physically, spiritually at dis-ease, obviously our performance increases according to our physicality of handling that ease. Fulfillment will accelerate, it'll aggregate, and it will compound exponentially. And that flow, that infinite, that abundance begins to circulate naturally, all into a unified, abundant, infinite system of thought. I will share with you today, and my friend Blaine will give us the analysis as the best color man in thought leadership. Flow is not hype. Flow is not motivation, and flow is alignment, the identification, the awareness of dis-ease to allow the infinite, the abundant to come through us for others. And when we learn how to create that alignment consistently, every day, persistently, without quit, we will stop chasing outcomes. We will stop attaching our emotions to them, and we will start allowing them to flow through us for others. Blaine Bartlett, the first lesson of flow that we're going to discuss today is knowing the truth about flow and understanding what most of us think flow is something we feel, and that we created through alignment when our skills, attention, and challenge meet in the right way. How do you, or what do you consider to be the truth about flow?
Well, the truth about flow, in my experience and in the work that I've done with executives around the world, when we, first of all, set the destination, that it begins with that clarity about the destination, and then we let go of it. And the analogy that I work with, the metaphor I work with, I've run rivers, since I was a teen. And the river is going to end up where the river is destined to end up. That's the outcome. When I put myself and push the boat off, the river has a current. It has a seam. My job is to find ways to stay in the seam and not worry about the destination. The destination is going to occur. And when I've really struggled in floating a river is when I've battled the current. And this is where alignment comes into play. So just thinking about it in terms of that metaphor makes a big difference. You don't have to do anything except recognize where is the alignment. The alignment in skill, the alignment in knowledge, the alignment in desire. Those three components come into play.
I love it. In understanding the flow, in your analogy, will go to the low, right? All water, all streams, all rivers, all waterfalls, they flow to the low. And the analogous understanding of the flow is that the flow goes to the low, which is humility. As you know, one of my favorite quotes, if not my absolute favorite quote, is you're either humble or you're about to be. And living low is difficult because every time we reach the flow, everything feels effortless. All of the dis-ease fades, disappears, dissolves. Even time itself will disappear when we're in the flow. Right. In its infinite nature of time, not the man-made construct of time, that will disappear. And it's not accidental. But what happens is when we are in the flow and things are effortless, we forget that we need to utilize effort to stay in the effortless. And the effort that we need to have is humility. We need to stay low to be in the flow because everything flows to the low. And so flow happens as we understand that our energy, our effort needs to be put into the clues, the patterns, and the choices that we make as we become aware of physical, mental, emotional disease. And if you use your analogy, we're in the flow and all of a sudden there's a big boulder in front of us. That boulder has created disease. So we need to what? Utilize our effort to make sure that we don't hit that disease. We don't accelerate in the wrong direction. We don't try to go over it, under it, through it, around it, lie to it, cheat it, manipulate it, deny it. We just allow, as you know, the current will take us around the boulder.
Yeah.
And so, but we have to have a lot of humility and faith that only exists in darkness. Miracles exist in light, but only in that darkness. How do we identify where we are currently bored because we're in the flow, or we're currently overwhelmed because we're living in disease?
The identification piece has to do, and you're talking about this, with disease, discomfort. It's when I start noticing I'm about a half step short. If I use a sports analogy, things just seem timing wise to be a little out of phase. And this is where awareness is foundational. Awareness isn't just a nice thing to have. Awareness is absolutely foundational to success in life. And if, going back to the stream metaphor, I want to be aware of where the current is. And I notice that boulder in front of me. I also notice that there's a way that the water moves with that boulder, that I want to be able to access that, because that's going to go around the boulder. On the other side, it's a suck hole. It will actually, suck me into the boulder. And if I'm not paying attention, that's where I'm going to have some difficulty. And so awareness, is a large part of this. I can't be aligned unless I'm aware. And this has to do with our next lesson, which is around where does attention go? Yeah. Attention is huge.
And I've created a flow equation of what I pay attention to and what I give intention to, what I'm doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing. I'm going to repeat that. It's not just what I'm doing, it's what I'm saying. Every time we say something, we cast a spell.
Yep.
Do you think it's a mistake that they call it spelling? We're casting a spell. That's why worry is such a damaging disease to people, because not only is it casting a spell of interference with what we want, but it's casting a spell for what we don't want. And so in this equation of what I pay attention to, what I think, say, do, feel, and believe equals the coincidences, the coinciding, the flow. Flow then is really not random. It follows a structure that, according to Napoleon Hill, that we can create and repeat with a definiteness of focus plus purpose, a definite purpose that creates a hypnotic rhythm, which is represented in that flow. When you step into this clear objective and you get immediate feedback and you eliminate the disease, we elevate our natural performance. But there's some key insights to flow according to this intention. What have you taught and learned over the years about how to use intentionality, the definiteness of purpose, to create this hypnotic rhythm?
Again, I go back to setting the objective, for the sake of what. So it's one thing to have a why. Simon Sinek talks about the why. I mean, all of that stuff, that destination that you're heading towards. More important is for the sake of what? What matters? And it's that question of what matters that triggers desire. And desire, Napoleon talks about this, desire is absolutely crucial to movement, particularly movement when I find a boulder in my path. I have to have fuel to allow me to move around. And fuel is a mechanism, or it's a component of movement. Leaders cause movement. Not everybody's causing the kind of movement they need to have to get the result that they say they want. A lot of people, and this, Napoleon talks about this in his book, Outwitting the Devil. We drift because our fuel is feeding something other than what we say we'd like to have. It's feeding our worry. It's feeding our concern. It's feeding our, oh, what the hell, all of that stuff. Desire is a key here. So we want to be able to actually, for the sake of what matters, what do I love? And then that keeps me into the experience of flow. Now, there's another piece to this around the boulder. I'll just use that as an analogy. Flow does not mean easy sailing.
Right.
It really doesn't. Epictetus, one of the Stoic philosophers, would talk about, I pity the person who has never been challenged, because he or she never knows what they're capable of. So the boulder is, the universe's way of saying, hey, step up here. You've got muscles you haven't used yet. You've got insights that you've never accessed before. So I want to treat that boulder as a gift. Now I've got skills, and it will test my skill set. And that's where flow actually comes into play. We've got a match between skill and challenge. And that's where the flow state actually exists.
Yeah, and understanding God will not give you that invitation without already knowing your limitations, so that you can work through them and build those muscles, the skills, the knowledge, and the desire to be what you must be. If you would like the flow equation of what you pay attention to, give intention to equal those coincidences, understanding the definiteness of purpose and hypnotic rhythm, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Be happy to send you that along with my book. I'll sign it, send it to you, pay for shipping and the book. Moving on to lesson number 3, beyond the equation of the flow exists the understanding of clarity, balance, or harmony that creates the flow, that creates the infinite. And without the clarity, without the harmony, our energy becomes interfered with. And flow is diminished in its capacity. I just came back from the pro athlete community, and a lot of the current players that they'll want to shadow me. So I have them meet me at 4 a.m. and spend the whole day till 5 p.m. until I have my family time. That's a non-negotiable every day. But by 3 or 4 o'clock, these guys are younger than me, faster, stronger, cardiovascularly more fit, but they're exhausted and sometimes even sleeping. Mm-hmm. And they're amazed at 58 years old, just like people at your age are amazed how much energy I still have. And now energy is infinite. And so I tried to explain to them, look, I spent the whole day watching you interfere with the abundant amount of energy that you're talking to your agent, you're talking to your girlfriend, you're talking to your mom, you're getting upset about business opportunities, you're angry, frustrated, guilty, resentful, worried all day long. And that's not in the flow. And therefore, you're not using or receiving as much energy as me. Now, if we both should receive the same amount of energy, you learn, like I have over 18 years, to spend minutes and moments in disease, there's no doubt that your body can handle and utilize that energy better than me. Your body could do that because you're younger, stronger, faster, taller, and better cardiovascular shape. But most people don't have the energy. They have it in spurts, like on a basketball court or a track or a baseball or football field. But throughout the day, this is the idea of being in the flow. For you, these clear objectives, eliminating the dis-ease, committing to a single task. How clear do we have to be on that task? Or can we have it be a direction or a trajectory? Or do we not know, I want exactly this?
Again, I go back to what we initially started with. I set the outcome. I'm clear about for the sake of what matters. Then I let go of it. Then I let go of it. It's the attachment.
Letting go doesn't mean not pursuing.
Oh no, absolutely no. There is no.
You're not high on your mom's couch, right? You're not high on your mom's couch dreaming about it, right?
Exactly. So it's directional and it's fueled with desire. The idea here is I don't want to be fixated on the outcome, because then I begin losing awareness of situational awareness. And when I lose situational awareness, I'm drifting. I'm not in flow. And that's what I want to be cognizant of. I want to really pay attention to this. So that whole dynamic comes into play very specifically there. And this is the problem with multitasking. And I've worked with a lot of executives, as have you, that are proud of their ability to multitask. It is bullshit. I mean, it really is. You've got to, if you want to be in flow, you have to be focused. You have to be focused.
Yeah, and I believe you can actually refocus. So utilizing the speed of thought, which is faster than the speed of time, that you can gather enough data with multiple things to focus in on, but it's a developed skill to refocus, and you need a central focus point. So if I'm on this interview, I can still be adding people on Clubhouse because I'm consistently going back to the conversation, and the speed of thought is so quick that we can develop the skill of gathering enough data so that I have full data on this conversation, but partial data on adding people on Clubhouse to, while we're in this conversation, to the conversation. So we want to understand that focus and the harmony, as you have suggested, not balance, but harmony of the flow, where everything is harmonized to maximize the infinite or the abundant of more than enough of everything: intelligence, inspiration, intuition, energy, even money and time that can exist in those infinite states. Now, the next lesson I call the edge zone. And, you talked about this earlier, that, we have to develop things. And the only way to develop things is to make mistakes and to test ourselves, to live in the learning zone, not the anxiety zone, not the comfort zone. Those will constrict you to a point where you may not even be able to get out of bed. But this learning zone that only can occur by making mistakes, pushing ourselves, taking chances aligned with our timing and risk tolerance. When we enter the flow, we're operating at the edge of our capability. Right. Where is that edge that people should be aware of?
Well, you mentioned it just a moment ago here. There, you start noticing, where do I start to feel bored? I'm not being challenged. Where do I start to feel anxious? All of a sudden, worry crops up. Fear comes into play. Fear is a contractive emotion. So there's a balancing piece here, and it's different for everybody. You just notice where that's at. And part of this is, the nature of the goals that we set for ourselves. The purpose of a goal, and you've heard, our mutual friend, Bob Proctor, talk about this a lot. The purpose of a goal isn't to get something. Now, it's good to get something, but the real purpose of any really good goal is to grow. So I've coined this term that I call a growal. And if you're not setting a growal for yourself, which by definition is going to require you to move into places you've never been before, that growal setting is the litmus test that I use to set up the experience of flow in what I'm doing.
It's so good. And in that flow state, it is an expansive state where the comfort zone, the bored zone, is a constrictive state of mind. And so is the anxiety zone. Absolutely. So that edge zone is between the learning zone and the anxiety zone, to push ourselves, because the objective of your growth state is to have the learning zone expand out to where your anxiety zone was, your comfort zone to expand out to where your learning zone was. And it's a continual expansive process so that you can be more productive, more accessible, and more gracious. And if you would like the Edge Zone exercise and guide along with my book, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You will continue to stretch yourself and expand into your bigger and better self. Feedback and immersion. A lot of us don't see the clues, the patterns, are not aware of what we're doing to interfere with it. We're caught in the same cycle. Life is about lessons. The lessons keep on coming until we learn them. They're conscious, they're subconscious. We even have an unconscious competency in which you talked about and taught me about, about this genetic and energetic inheritance that can help us with the things that are aligned with where we want to be in the flow. But if it's genetically or energetically inherited, unconsciously, we could be interfering all day long as the flow deepens, when we can measure quantitatively progress and stay immersed long enough in the flow to break through the genetic and energetic resistance or subconscious resistance as well. What are some of the things that we can work on to stay immersed in the flow state?
My eyes look outward, my ears listen for external things. I want to be able to find ways to get a sense of where am I at right now, and how am I doing? Not what am I doing, but how am I doing with what I'm doing? This is, the idea that feedback is feedback is the breakfast of champions. you You got to set it. You got to set a structure up that gives you valued feedback from people and sources that are credible. They're not opinions of people that have not done stuff. They're feedback. It's information from folks that have actually rode that stretch of water before, and they can tell you that side of the boulder, no go. That side of the boulder, that's the one you want to work with.
And I think one of the lessons in feedback and immersive state of flow is that nobody appreciates feedback in the present. Some of us may take minutes and moments to process and appreciate feedback, but it is human nature, anatomically and chemically, to resist feedback.
Oh, I love this. Do you mind if I give you some feedback? It's kind of like
exactly. Give me some more disease. And but those that can, shift their own perspective of feedback and say to themselves, feedback is like a handful of sand. I'm going to appreciate your feedback, and if the nugget or the kernel of sand or the grain of sand is not aligned with my divine direction, I'm going to let it fall through my hand with the acknowledgement and appreciation that it deserves. But if the feedback resonates with me, which means I feel very strongly that this is aligned with my divine direction, or I feel very strongly this is very much against my divine direction, I want to hold on to it and learn from it. Otherwise, I let it fall through with acknowledgement and appreciation. Coming into the last lesson, awareness, I said, as miracles exists in the light. Faith is what exists in darkness. And we have a difference between sight and vision. But we actually, just like engineering wealth, we can engineer abundance. We can engineer the infinite. And in order to do so, we have to identify certain things in the flow, because flow is not something we occasionally access. We are part of the flow. It's what are we doing to interfere with it? I see it as what are we doing to interfere with a need to be right, a need to be offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, and worried, just to name a few. But it needs to be something that we embody through identity and daily practice. When you're practicing yourself, which I know you are constantly in the pursuit of your potential, what systems or practices have you built that consistently has put you in the flow?
This is where noticing what I'm noticing comes into play, and that is a practice. I notice what I notice, and if I'm writing, as an example, or doing some research, and all of a sudden I start noticing my attention wandering, or I start getting distracted, what I'll do, instead of trying to fight that, I will actually get up from my desk. And I'm fortunate enough to live on about 11 acres of land out here. I'll just go outside and I'll walk around for a while, just to kind of sort things out, get reconnected to to nature and the flow that nature actually represents. I'll get out in the air, breathe the fresh air, that sort of stuff, come back and settle again. So this is a practice that I've learned to do. A long time ago, I would fight that distraction. And another thing has to do with the nature of meditation. People will think that they meditate so that they can, I've got this quiet time, I'm going to meditate. I want to be able to meditate in a way that allows me to be still in the center of, in the middle of all kinds of cacophony and all kinds of noise. The practice of meditation has to be transferable into my daily life, because that's where flow actually exists. If I can be the center of the storm, I'm actually in a flow state at that point in time. That's where equanimity comes into play, all of that stuff.
Yeah, the equanimity and harmony. And for me, there's two critical components in that meditation of preparing for the flow. And one is an unwinding routine in which I meditate, in a sense, to put my mind, body, soul in a position to recover while I sleep, but also access information. And then I use theta meditation when I awake to transcend the intelligence, intuition, the inspiration that I receive by being in the flow state while I sleep. and then utilize it to materialize and monetize it each and every day, which is why they call it information, because we're creating that. If you would like the identity of flow, the engineering of abundance exercise and guide, please email me, david@dmeltzer.com, along with my book, which I'll sign, send to you, pay for shipping in the book. If you would like the engineering abundance guide, david@dmeltzer.com, please email me. And as I finish up, remember, Blaine will stay on for 30 minutes and he will do the Q&A, the Ask Me Anything about engineering the flow of abundance as we conclude the training portion of it, to remind people that most people chase results. They attach their emotions to outcomes. But what we want to empower you with is the ability to engineer the flow. Because when we operate in the flow, as slow as it goes and as low as it goes, performance recovery will improve. Our results will compound exponentially. They'll accelerate, and the opportunities, the options, and the touch of favor that exists in the flow, in the infinite, abundant, unified system of more than enough of everything for everyone, will expand. Flow actually becomes our unfair advantage. It's a distinction of living in the empty mile where very few people exist. And obviously there's much more ease than dis-ease. And when we master that state of flow, when we're pursuing ease and stop chasing the abundance, stop attaching our emotions to I'll be happy when, but as Blaine Bartlett teaches us, for the sake of what? We will be, and we will be I am, and be what we become, and we will allow that which already exists within the infinite time, in the infinite, abundant, unified system. We will allow it to come through us in the flow to others. So we will empower others to be happy. And as you know, on my mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, if I can do anything to empower you, to empower others to be happy, that will make me happy. This has been the Napoleon Hill Institute training on engineering the flow of abundance. If you would like the exercise guides or books today, please just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I want to once again remind you, you are invited to the Masters Mastermind with John Daly, Von Miller, many, many more in Augusta, Georgia. You then are invited to the Aspire Business Tour with the Sharks, myself, Gary V and I will be there, Andrew Cordell. Come and join us in Phoenix, then to LA for the Content Mastermind, then to New York and Long Island. Again, interviews, meetups, holding court, speeches, and VIP dinners and lunches. Come and join us. You just got to email me, david@dmeltzer.com. David means beloved. D is my first initial. Meltzer means servant. Let me be your beloved servant. david@dmeltzer.com. I'm going to hand it off to my mentor, the incredible A+, 2 B's equal A+, by the way. That's blainebartlett.com. Blaine, thank you so much for pouring into our community every week. Thank you for being chancellor of Napoleon Hill Institute and a leader of the world community, especially in world business affairs. You have changed my life and so many others. God bless you, my friend. Have a wonderful day. Get your questions ready because we got Blaine Bartlett in the house. Have a great day. Remember, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thank you, Blaine.
You bet. You bet. Talk to you later, buddy.
See you later.
Okay. All right. Nick.
Hey, how we doing? I'll be helping out Nick here. He's losing his voice. So I'm helping queue up some questions for
Okay,
you
Mike.
on,
That's
on
good.
some travel. Perfect. All right, we got Clubhouse going in the background as well. Gigi, if you can make sure that's unmuted for us too, and that's rolling. Blaine, I'm going to pull in from the chat here. We got a lot of them flowing in while I get people some queued up on Clubhouse to ask you some stuff as well.
All right.
Now, the first question here in the chat is, how does this intersect interact or engage with willingness? Asking from curiosity, because willingness feels like a precursor to how intention actually shows up.
Can you read that one again? Willingness. I just want to be sure I've got the.
Yep, of course. I put it on the screen as well. I just pulled it up from the
I was
chat as
gonna
they're coming in from
say,
different platforms.
Asking from curiosity is for me. Willingness feels like a precursor. How intention So, as I understand the question, William, willingness implies the ability to embrace something that is coming towards me. So that would be one way that I would actually begin to look at the interface between willingness and intentionality. Yeah, my intention is to have this. Willingness to receive, is one aspect of that. Now, if I've got something going on in my psyche, as an example here, I feel unworthy to have this. I'm not the kind of person, and this is an important piece on this. How I finish the question, I am. Most people will answer questions around identity in the context of I'm not the kind of person who. I'm not the kind of person who would do this, would have this, would embrace that sort of thing. So you want to be able to examine, how willing are you to receive what it is that you're asking for? How willing are you to actually fulsomely embrace what's coming towards you? So there is obviously, I think, in the way that you're describing this, and the question is holding it. These two elements are linked very definitely.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Blaine. All right, I'm going to jump to Clubhouse here as well. Bring up some of these team members we got on stage, ready to go. Ask some questions as the people kind of feed in here. All right. Marco Antonio, if you can hear me, buddy, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question for Blaine?
I was really interested in that conversation you guys had about the edge zone. You mentioned that it only happens when we're at the edge of our capabilities, and I find myself constantly trying to put myself in uncomfortable situations because I was told, or I figured, that that's really where growth happens. Mm-hmm. But when I am at the edge, I find myself in anxiety. How can we walk that line so that we stay at ease or in our flow and staying on the edge, but not falling into that anxiety zone?
Make a distinction here between anxiety, which is oftentimes laced with fear of, concern with, worry about.
Repeat the question, I can. Happy to.
Here, Marco, you got him now. It's feeding through mine as well. Go ahead, Blaine. Sorry about that.
Okay, can you? Let me put the mic on my phone here. I'm just trying to kill feedback. Mm-hmm. Okay, we good? Okay. So anxiety, the way that you're describing it is when you there's a line in a book that I read a long time ago, Cowgirls Get the Blue. It's the color blue that black would have been if it hadn't crossed over the line. It's the color blue that black would have been had it not crossed over the line. So what you're looking at is you're on a fine edge. And when you crossed over the line on that fine edge, that's where you stumble into anxiety, fear, worry, all of those sorts of things. So this is where noticing becomes a useful competency to develop. And notice what you're noticing. You will physiologically know when you've come up against that edge. And I applaud you for continuously stepping into discomfort, because the organism will grow when it's stressed. That's your mind, that's your emotional body, your spiritual body. Stress isn't bad here. Stress, it means that you're actually pushing against boundaries. And that's what you want to be able to do, but you don't want to tear the envelope. Okay. So you don't want to, you don't want to worry about tearing the envelope because it's repairable. So if you go too far, you just kind of dust yourself off and get back on the horse again. But that's kind of what you're looking at here when you put yourself in a position that you're describing. You want to be on that edge and you balance it. Now, yeah, what's too much, what's too little, what's just enough right now. So situational awareness comes into play here, and yeah, you just kind of play with it.
Mark, does that help you out?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You bet.
But then I feel like sometimes I may be interfering with that flow if I go a little too far over. And I had a feeling the other day of feeling a bit overwhelmed, but it was a good type of overwhelmed. You know, it was because great things were happening, but I was told, or I learned that you can't be in abundance and also feel worried at the same time. So trying to walk that fine line and that edge. Thank you, Blaine.
Yeah. Now, just a real quick comment on the overwhelm piece. God invented time so everything didn't happen at once. I mean, in terms of our experience. So when we start feeling overwhelmed, what we're trying to do is try and jam everything into a single moment. So this is why I mentioned in the training portion, I get up off of my, out of my desk or wherever I'm at and just take a walk. Just take a walk. Just cool the jets. Just cool the jets for a little bit. Come back. Things have reorganized themselves a little bit, and now I can actually begin to sort things a little bit more effectively. So it's all going to be there. This is the nature of abundance. It's all there. But I've got this bag of skin that I inhabit has only got so much capacity at a given point in time. So I want to be able to nurture, just kind of who I am as I assimilate and work with what's coming at me.
Amazing. Okay, thank you, Blaine. Appreciate it. We're going to our next question here. If we can go to Anton, welcome to the stage. If you can unmute yourself and using the bottom left-hand side, we'll get you going here.
Good morning. I'm doing well, thank you.
My question is how important is certain significant traumas or pressures in our lives that can push us to the max?
How significant are the past things that I've experienced in my life? I will always be carrying things with me. So again, this is where I think awareness is probably going to be your best friend. Curating awareness. Awareness is a foundational component of an effectively lived life. So when I can become aware that's, say a past trauma, I don't want to minimize this or trivialize it, but just to kind of genericize it a little bit here. I was locked in the glove box when I was 2 months old in the car. And that was traumatic for me. Yeah, I'm exaggerating and whatnot, but I can carry that physiological trauma forward in life. And at some point in time, I want to become aware that I'm feeling contracted. What's the source of that? And this is when you think of emotional intelligence, the work that Daniel Goleman did with emotional intelligence suggested that up to about 94% of a leader's effectiveness has to do with their emotional intelligence. And the foundational skill component of emotional intelligence is awareness of self, as well as awareness of others, situational awareness. This awareness of self, it's not just about noticing, oh, I'm feeling contracted. I want to trace it back. What's the source? What's the trigger mechanism? It was valid back then. Now it's embodied and it's running automatically. So if I can identify the trigger, I can begin to uncouple it from my current experience of who I am and what I'm doing. And it's that uncoupling process that allows me the freedom to move into different domains and actually work in a little bit different fashion. The fact that I get triggered and I feel the contraction is great news, because it's kind of a signal that, okay, now it's time to uncouple that. It's time to uncouple that. And it's not, that past isn't going to go away, but it's no longer, holding me in the way that it was. And that's the nature of trauma work in a large, writ large.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I had some trauma that happened to me, and I use it as power. About 8 months ago, my brother passed away, so I use that as something to tell my story.
Yeah.
And to motivate others. So I was just wondering if there's any relevancy to it.
They're absolutely, and I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your brother. I have had that experience. The idea, and you're kind of speaking to this, Anton. What's the unexpected opportunity that this trauma holds? So rather than collapsing into and around the trauma, going, oh my God, this is awful, horrible. What's the unexpected opportunity that's present here? What would I not have access to had this not occurred? And that's not to minimize the occurrence of the trauma or the event, but it's to be able to look it squarely in the eye and say, I can use this. I can use this. It puts you in a position of not being a victim and actually acting with agency in your life.
Yeah, no, that's true, 100%. It's interesting to think about it this way because I think I wouldn't have created my podcast. I wouldn't have created my book. I wouldn't have, it's so true. Even though it's sad and it's unfortunate, but you're able to meet opportunities with that pain.
Absolutely. Yeah, everything in life is happening for me. And now, whether that's true or not is irrelevant, but if I act as if that's true, this is happening for me, not to me. I begin looking for ways that I can utilize this. And this is what, when we're thinking about this in the context of flow, that boulder appears in the river. It didn't just happen to me. It's happening for me because it allows me to exercise a skill set that I don't know that I developed fully or not. If I crash into the rock, I know I've got to do something else. So this is kind of how I begin to navigate the flow of life as it empties into that great unknown at the end.
Well, thank you so much, Blaine. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Great question, Anton. Thank you.
All right, Blaine, we're going to transition back and show some love back to the chat as well. I just pulled the question here on stage so you can check it out and obviously answer that. And we'll go back to the live question after.
How do we apply this when money is the only issue? You know the goal and why do all. It's all because the money's not there to sustain the consistency required. It's a weird cycle. Yeah, here, Tonya, I love this question. Money is not the only issue. The issue is my relationship with money. Money is just a symbol for different things. It's my relationship with the symbol that money represents that is causing me the difficulty. So if it keeps cropping up in the way that you're describing it here in your question, I would take a look at, okay, what's in place here from a relational dynamic? How am I relating to money? What was, the history, that I grew up with? How was money treated at home? How was, people, what was I taught about money? What did society see, in the area of society that I grew up in? What was the overarching zeitgeist around money? All of these things conspire to give me a framework to relate to money in a specific way. So if I've, put this in the context of abundance, if I'm not accessing the money that I'd like to have, I want to be able to take a look at what's the relational dynamic that's in play. What did I learn about money that is actually now inhibiting flow? And that's an exploration that is worth engaging in because it's never about the money. That's where our attention is focused. Our attention needs to go to what's the relational dynamic.
Love it. Thank you, Blaine. All right, perfect. We'll keep things rolling here. We're going to go back to Clubhouse now If Ali Myers, if you can go and unmute yourself, please, since you're on stage, and jump in and ask a question. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ali, good to see you again.
Can you share one of the most challenging moments in your career where that flow was disrupted? And what internal shifts allowed you to recalibrate and move forward? And how can others apply that in real time when facing major life transitions?
Yeah, great question. I've had breaks in flow a number of different times. One that would come to mind that I think would be relevant here, and Anton, you might appreciate this, was when my wife died back 15 years ago, 16 years ago now. We'd been together, a little over 20 years. It was a wonderful marriage, and it just rocked my world. It absolutely knocked me for a loop. And when you talk about it in the context of flow, I definitely was experiencing being out of flow, professionally, personally, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally. Everything was just knocked, completely off kilter. I got very deliberate, Ali, and said, okay, what do I need to be doing here to get back to a sense of, and I'll use the word equanimity here, where I feel centered, because as long as I'm knocked off balance, and that's the experience of being out of flow, is I feel off balance. And if I'm off balance, just think about standing and somebody pushes you. Now you're knocked off balance. Your only real move and your only real concern is to kind of correct so that you get back into some sense of control. And you almost always will overcompensate. You'll lean back into the push. What you want to be able to do, however, is come back to a place of center, because as long as you're leaning into the push, you've only got one direction to go. If you come back to a centered state, now it's omnidirectional. From a centered state, I can move 360 degrees. And that's the nature of flow. There's effortless efforting there. I'm not pushing. I'm not overcompensating. So what I did when my wife died is I very deliberately put myself into a position where I was looking at, how do I deal with grief? What is grief? What's the components of it? Where does it show up for me? How do I deal with it? What's the triggers? And I developed this little acronym, and I'll acknowledge, Richard Strozzi here is a good friend of mine. Part of my coaching practice involves the use of somatics, the body-mind integration. And I used to practice Aikido, very regularly. And in Aikido, as a martial art, you use your opponent's energy and movements not to oppose them, but you actually interact with them and flow with it in a way that you can actually turn it into something more useful. So it doesn't become a direct frontal attack and you're not off balance. We developed this little acronym that we called CFEB. And CFEB is CFEEB. Center, face, extend, enter, and blend. Now this has to do with the nature of energy. So when I would feel this grief, it would feel like an elephant sitting on my chest. When I would feel that coming on, instead of trying to push it away, instead of going, no, I hate this, what I do is I would actually just take a deep breath, and I might be in the center of the cookie aisle in the grocery store. I would just center, take a deep breath, just kind of feel myself get settled, face it. That's the F. Face it. Okay, here it comes. This is here. This is present. I'm not denying it. It is present. I would extend into it. Let me just kind of meet it. I would enter it. And by entering it, just from a metaphoric way, I would just imagine myself, letting it wash all over me, which moved me right into blending. Center, face, extend, enter, blend. And it would just kind of move to me, through me, and out of me. And it would happen pretty quickly. I would still have tears streaming, and I'd look like an idiot standing in the cookie aisle, crying. And people go by, "Are you okay?" I'm going, "Yeah, I'm just fine. Thank you very much." But over time, and it wasn't a lot of time, the experience of grief started having less and less of a hold. My sense of loss did not go away. I mean, the love that I felt, everything that was there remained present. But the grief that I found inhibiting me moving forward, the hold on it, lessened. So CFEB was my tool. And I was very specific in the way that I used it. I transported it over from my work in Aikido and said, okay, there's a way that I can utilize this in life. So one of the ways that we can actually find movement is to not resist what's happening. Just notice it, work with it, and let yourself move. This is another thing about the meditation practice. I found that this is very useful. Meditation, and I'll teach this to some of my clients, meditation is actually a practice in developing the capacity to continuously start over. Because if you've ever sat for any period of time, you'll get quiet and all of a sudden your monkey mind just starts going crazy again. Squirrel, you start running all over the place. So you've got to come back to center. So it's a practice. It's a practice in developing the capacity to continuously start over without being frustrated, without feeling like you screwed up, without any of that sort of stuff. It's just a practice in starting over. And that's what, sustainable success in life, which is a definition of flow states. Sustainable success in life is really an exercise in starting over, developing the capacity to continuously start over. That's what we want to be able to do. Allie, I hope that was useful. Thank you, Allie.
Amazing. Thank you, Blaine, as always. You're crushing this per usual. I just love sitting back here, honestly. I'm glad Nick got a little sick, honestly, so I can have like more of a front row seat to this. This is great. I love this. All right. We got just under 5 minutes here, so we'll close out here with a couple more questions. The chat is blown up. So let me pull up another question here so we show some love back to them real quick here. All right, from Candace. I'll read that for you real quick. One. Here we go. When your feedback is coming from close family that are not credible, how do you manage the situation? I'm sure this is a popular one. People are loving this comment, by the way.
Well, the key here is not credible. One way to think about there's when you look from the vantage point of linguistics, there's two speech acts, and I'll call them speech acts. Ways that people give feedback. One is as an assertion. An assertion is verifiable by evidence. The floor is flat. You can look at it, you can measure it, you can get a level out, and you go, yep, the floor is flat. And it doesn't really make any difference who's making that assertion, as long as there's verifiable evidence that suggests, yep, it is what it is. The far more common is what is, from linguistically is called an assessment. An assessment is a judgment or an opinion that does not get grounded in evidence. It's just, this is the way he's a horrible leader. Well, okay, I know that's your experience with what's going on, but what's the evidence that suggests that is universally true in every way, shape, or form? For the truth to be the truth, it has to be true in all situations at all times. That's an assertion. That's the nature of an assertion. So when you're getting feedback from a close family member, a couple of things are in place here. One is they probably love you, and they're looking through their eyes. They're looking through their eyes, making assessments about what would be good for you from their perspective. Their perspective isn't your life. You are, and this is interesting to play with, you are how I see you in my mind. And that's what's going on with them. You are how they see you in their mind. So how you manage that situation is to come back with them and say, okay, help me understand. And this language is important. Help me understand. You haven't been here. You haven't done that. That speaks to the credibility issue. Help me understand what you're noticing that leads you to this opinion. And I would use that word very specifically, this opinion. So you separate it from fact. Then you've got the basis for a dialogue. every disagreement we have, and this is true, in business, it's also true in families. Every disagreement we have are essentially disagreements of conclusion. I have concluded that this is true. You have concluded that this is true, and they're in opposition. And we will battle trying to make my conclusion more right than your conclusion. And that's the nature of the conversation. And whoever is throwing their weight around the best is going to win. The conversation that revolves around conclusion structures is always organized around winning. I want to be right. You want to be able to drop below the conclusions. What are the assumptions? What are the assessments that are supporting that conclusion that you're holding? So help me understand. Tell me more about that. Where do you see that happening? Does it happen all the time, or is it just situational? If it's situational, what are the situations that this happens in? So it opens up something that's called a dialogue. And if you take the word dialogue, and we're all familiar with the word, let's have a dialogue. Dialogue, you separate dia, logos. Dia means around, logos is ideas. So what you're having a conversation about is you're exploring ideas. You're not exploring conclusions, you're exploring ideas. What are the ideas that inform that conclusion? That's the nature of a dialogue. So ideally, with your feedback is coming from a close family member and you believe that they're not credible, you want to have a dialogue with that person. You want to have a dialogue with them. Help me understand your worldview. How are you seeing me in your mind? Because how you're seeing me is likely not how I'm experiencing myself.
Love it. Thank you, Blaine. I see Candace saying, I need the recording. I can't take notes fast enough in the chat. So along with many other people, I think we got a question from every social platform, by the way, too, today, which is awesome. And of course, it's right on time per usual. Blaine, if you can let everybody know where they can find you, what you have coming up, different resources, how they can connect with you. And thank you, as always, for giving me a front row seat today.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Thank you for hosting. It's been great. People can find out more about me at blainebartlett.com. That's probably the easiest. I'm on all the social, LinkedIn. I do regular live shows. David and I do, tomorrow we're doing office hours. Every Thursday we do an office hour show with Rep Power. I do a Power of You show every Thursday on LinkedIn. So, just kind of tune in there. And also, you can get a hold of me directly at info, I-N-F-O, at avatar-resources.com. You can also, thank you, Gigi. We're going to have to update that, but go ahead and put that back up again. You can actually get some time on my calendar if you want by going to SOBM booking. That's the bit.ly URL. So if you're interested in having a brief conversation, I would be more than happy to have that conversation with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Blaine. And if anybody wants the guide from today, obviously reach out to Blaine directly or reach out to David directly at david@dmeltzer.com. Obviously, text his community at 949-298-2905 for any of the upcoming events we got going on. Obviously, David's in over 200 plus cities this year alone. Please continue to reach out, connect with us. I absolutely love these NHI trainings every Wednesday, and especially when I get the front row seat like I got today. So thank you again, Blaine, and thank you, Gigi, for producing as always. Appreciate all you guys, and thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Mike. Gigi. And
they discovered it, they read it, and they applied it. It's the golden thread that connects the titans of the self-development industry, the source that spawned millions of millionaires, the original blueprint to success.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It's a classic. A classic.
And I love Think and Grow Rich. I love it. It's right here. I mean, it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
This material is what changed my life. This is the material I study every day. From being an immigrant woman, coming from poverty, and really coming to America and literally achieving the American dream. I can't even tell you how grateful I am for this man, for what he did for me and my family.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
people don't realize is that when we let our ego get in our way, ego is the loss, the fear of loss. So need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be hurt, fearful. When that trajectory changes, what happens is you continually go the wrong way. So my job as a coach is to say, let's get into the enjoyment of the direct pursuit of my potential. Right? And so when the light went on, it was not about the potential of making money and being an entrepreneur, which is one of my specialties. And I said to him, look, this is an opportunity now to show how great you really are. We can't let the outside voices, right, determine our success. The happiness that we have comes within. Why are you going to give that control to somebody else?
Thoughts become things. And I always wonder, why did no one teach us this? Why did we not learn this in school? Why did we not learn this from our families? If you make your study a priority, your life will change.
And I came up with 4 really valuable things that I took stock in. And the first one was gratitude. Simple gratitude. Although I grew up with nothing, I was always grateful. Throughout the whole process of consistently, persistently pursuing my potential, I was grateful. It made my past better, my present brighter, and my future even brighter than that. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you want to change your life, change your employee's life, your family life, it's very simple. 2 words, say thank you.